Okay. Good morning, everybody. I will just be quick a little bit for this one. Well, I want to welcome each and every one of us for this webinar. The last one we had was in January, and due to the elections, we could not hold that of February. But I want to really appreciate us for actually finding time to come together again for the webinar series. We've been discussing, like Mr. Gideon said, we've been discussing about lithium. So at least from the first webinar we had this year. And today again, we'll be discussing more on lithium. We here in IAMESEP, we just hope that these webinars are somewhat having an impact in your daily activities in your professional career, because we strive to who are knowledgeable, who are experienced in this field, that can do justice to topics that we render. So without saying much, I just want to welcome you. I'm actually talking in representative capacity now because Dr. Salah is not here. So I just want to use medium to welcome each and every one of us and help us know that, please, as we delve into this topic, please give us your listening ears, jot down your questions, and it's going to be more like a discussion. So maybe at the end of the series, at the end of the webinar, we can just ask our questions and maybe do a little bit of discussion. So on behalf of IAMESEP, I'm happy that we are actually gathered. We could be able to gather again today to have this series. I say welcome and happy learning. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ato, thank you for that. Thank you for that brief remark. Okay, before we go on, I think, okay, Chidema, you are there. Okay, just as a brief introduction, I think this is, you know, with the development of science and technology, electronic equipment, and the new energy industry, the demand for lithium ore has rapidly actually increased. So therefore, the lithium ore now is known as the energy metal that promotes the world. Everything revolves around it when it comes to the energy, new energy, and the green technology. Nigeria, nobody knew that these things were actually there. In the past, in short, the last 3 years, 4 years, nobody knew that we have something that actually coming up now. So there is this new energy for us to actually go into the field to do more of exploration and all that. The major lithium ores we've actually seen in Nigeria, we can talk boldly, the lepidolites, the spodumene, and a few of the amblygonite. And you know that the most of the ones we actually seen is the spodumene that never exceeded about 8% Li percent. So, and also today we'll be looking at, because of our experiences in the field, there have been these issues of low grade and all that. A lot of people have kept on asking me, and how can we actually increase this? You know, look at, we're having about 1.5 and all that. And we've seen that the more we add more values to this, bring it, a lot of investors think that this is so complex and the rocket science and all that. So I think that there is few things one can actually do to also look at, beneficiating some of these ores. If they could be beneficiated to some reasonable amounts, say 5 to 6%, that should be worthwhile exporting than exporting everything. And you know the issues with exports. When you're exporting even the minerals you're actually paying for and the ones you're not actually paying for. So we think that it is very important that, you know, that a lot of people should see this as an investment opportunity to actually add more values to some of these ores. Widely known for lithium beneficiation and processing is actually, it's not actually quite different from most of other mineral processing. The basic things will involve, you know, your crushing line, your grinding line, your beneficiation line, and maybe some some auxiliary equipment. And also because of the complex nature of lithium, we know that sometimes one method might not actually go. Flotation is mainly known method, but sometimes magnetic separation can also be involved, because after that, you find out that there are still some ions that actually contains in the ore. So that might involve adding about two other auxiliary methods to actually beneficiate these materials. So today we've actually deemed it fit to bring in this to look at it, evaluate the possible methods, evaluate what we have in the country, and see a way forward. And we have someone who has actually worked in this, also in the industry with me sometime, been able to put on some processing plant for barite, for lead zinc, is also here with us. So he's going to be talking about that. Let's not waste much time. Having introduced what we need to do today, I want Chidinma to quickly give us the profile of our presenter before we call him on board. Chidinma, please kind of mute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Good to be here again and to be part of the program. So as Gideon was talking, the name of the presenter today is Michael Okoto. He's the managing partner and the principal project consultant at the moment. He's leading the team of MOD for Okoto Nigeria Limited with over 15 postgraduate year experience and project development in the industry, spanning various industries, and as a principal project consultant, managing partner of MOD Okoto Nigeria Limited. He has a master's degree in mechanical design engineering from University of Manchester and a bachelor's degree in production engineering from the University of Benin. He has undertaken several pieces of training in project management, people skills management, and budgeting. He holds a postgraduate certificate in the mechanics of project finance from Middlesex University. And he's a registered engineer with the Council for Registration of Engineers in Nigeria and the Nigerian Society of Engineers. He has worked as the project manager for Chikasan for 25-ton per hour capacity barite mineral processing plant in Benue State, North Central Nigeria. He has also worked as an assistant project manager for Koto's first coal mining project and coal processing plant units, respectively, as part of a power plant project development for Zuma Coal Nigeria Limited in Kogi State of Nigeria. He also worked as the fabrication manager for Coach Nigeria Limited, the main contractor to the National Iron Ore Company Limited, in charge of the local fabrication workshop for the upgrading of the plant weather ore processing line and conveying system. Earlier in his career, as a project research analyst with a startup design company in Manchester, he's done a lot on lithium, and so I hereby welcome him to take the floor to discuss on the evaluation of small-scale processing method for lithium ores. You have the floor, Michael.
Thank you. Mike, you're over to you. I will try to upload the presentation for you to go on. You're welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gideon and Otto. I hope you're hearing me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my internet might act up, so Gideon will be sharing the slides. I will come from my own end. First of all, I want to appreciate everybody for coming today. I've been dragged out from my schedule to do this presentation, and it's a privilege to be here. Without wasting much time, I know we have very keen interest in lithium. We all have knowledge of lithium. For those who don't have, I believe if you have been following the series, you might have gotten one or two information. And if you are not even following the series and you're following trends, you would have seen that there is a new trend going on in the energy industry, shifting away from hydrocarbons to electricity, electric vehicles, and electric driven devices. So this is the new trend, and what is supporting it right now is basically lithium. So some years back we didn't know about it. We're just hearing about it. Definitely a lot of countries right now also didn't know so much about it, and everybody's trying to catch up. Those who are in the forefront of the research are still researching. Those who are trying to find the occurrence in their location, they are actually doing so much. For those people who have gone very far to get into production of lithium batteries and devices, vehicles, they are the ones actually driving the market. So we have a position in the market right now that makes us one that is not at disadvantage, but one who's gradually knowing what the market is like. So let's let me. I should read from the slides. I think you have gone past this slide. Let's understand the value chain. Mining companies trade mineral commodities and not ore. So if you are a mining company, if you are a professional in this industry, you are looking at mining a commodity and you have an off-taker, if you want to actually get the value of what you have done, because bringing it out is one thing from the crust, that's from the earth, and well, finding it is one, bringing it out is the other. But if you skip the main part of it, which is actually knowing what you brought out, you would have lost so much. And that's why, sorry, there's something on the screen. Let me use my own. Gideon. Can you
Okay,
hear
I
me
think
now?
you can go on. Yeah, you can go on now.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah.
So our industry is currently at its infancy and cannot grow beyond the present player in the industry. What I mean by this is, we here today are, I can say, the players in the industry. Yeah, we have professors, we have doctors, we have businessmen here. And if you like it, I listened to the last presentation, that's the one done in January. And I would like to make my contribution by saying that regardless of the fact that we are talking about government every time, we are the government in this industry. And if we don't come together to make it known to the existing structure of government, we will not make progress. So this industry can only grow through the present players, despite the fact that mining started long ago in Nigeria. Nigerian mining business community have not been able to attract huge investments like other African countries. We are seeing Ghana. I know the reason why we haven't been able to focus on these industries because we have crude oil. Crude oil is making everybody happy, satisfied, but we have things buried down there. We are the professionals. People make a lot of money from other industries than the oil and gas. If you take, for example, Dangote today, I think his major breakthrough is partly because of the extractive industry in the solid mineral sector, which is limestone. So there is a lot that can be done by the players in this industry. to attract investments like other African countries. Policies, bottleneck policies, lack of visibility in mining investment, non-existence of standard, which is one thing that I will talk about also, are some challenges that are facing the industry, and it could unbundle the sector to become a great contributor to national GDP. Nobody will develop this industry except Nigerians. So if we are waiting for the Chinese to come in and develop this sector for us, we will just be playing, because they will continue taking what they take, and they are happy to take it. And if you're happy to sell, they are happy to take it. So I'm not particular about the Chinese. I'm not against whatever anybody is doing. Whatever you sell and is good for the next man, then they take it. Don't blame them, and you can't also blame yourself, because maybe it's lack of knowledge. So that's why we are here today. To this end, we have to understand that the entire value chain of the industry makes mining projects successful. You have to run the entire value chain. Sometimes some of the financial models that have been developed um, for if we are not practicing, or if we were practicing mining as other countries out there, we discover that exploration alone wouldn't give you the financial, you make your financial model work. Mining alone also might not just give you that break even. You have to add value. You have to do more than just doing the easy work. I wouldn't say easy work, just doing some part of the work and leaving the rest for the market to determine. So sometimes you run into risk that might not help you if you don't do the entire value chain. So we are looking at exploration, finding the oil. We all know that. Financing, which is one of the areas that I think we should also look at, maybe if in future presentations, which I will be happy to talk about, is on how we can collaborate to actually do things. I want to use countries like Australia, Canada. I don't know about Ghana, but if you watch the trend, if you follow the history, how their industries grew, most of the findings, most of the great things that happened, just like the startups, the IT startups are having today, most companies went about telling people, I have found XYZ. Come and join me to explore. Come and join me to develop. Come and join me to mine. And this is what we are not doing here. If we don't do that, we will not succeed. Most people go about finding things, then they want to buy an excavator, bring it out, sell to a Chinese guy, make some money. There are so many success stories out there, but there are lots of failures, and this is due to huge risk we take not doing things right, especially in the financial area. We have to do things. Your site might be very close to a very promising site, but because we have been made to have plenty jobs. I'm going a little bit political. Plenty jobs. You know, if you have smallholder farmers, you say you have 5 million people employed. The same way you have 5 million licenses, you have 5 million people employed. That doesn't bring out the best in us. So we have to develop strategy for financing mining projects. Look at debt, we can look at equity, we should look at crowdfunding. The Security and Exchange Commission actually developed something on crowdfunding. So we can take a cue from there and do with that in the mining industry. Look at listing. Listing is actually how the world goes about developing this industry. Let's go down to mining economics. Economic mining takes into consideration the environmental and social stakeholders. Something is blocking my slide, Gideon. I don't know what that is, but I think I should use my own. Okay, I can see now. All processing, working in local, working with local EPC companies and engineers to develop bespoke designs for your mine. What I mean here is sometimes we ignore what we have. We don't look deep at what we have. Um, we go for what we think. It's very good. It's comforting, but we should spend some of our time to actually develop local content. When I mean local content, some of the things that we do or import or think that we cannot do um, makes us draw back in our local projects. I will use a building, for example. Most people who built houses did not build it by just bringing out the cash one day. They did the foundation and everything. So also, if you want to actually do something in this sector and you decide to challenge or look at how the engineering areas are around you, you will find out that there are professionals that are out there that can actually give you from A to Z of what you want if you are patient and you take your time to understand what they want to do. So let's go to the next slide. So this is us understanding the value chain and how it affects our business and minds today. We all understand this process. We working with local mineral processors to add value chain. As a business, most companies consider processing their ore as part of their overall ore extraction process. You look at the mining, you look at mineral processing, smelting, and manufacturing. If we can do exploration, we can do mine planning, we can do the mining. Why do we sell what we just bring out? Yes, at that stage we have value, but most at the same stage we have exploration value. Mineral processing adds value, and it is value that if you go deep, you discover that you will be a good player and a huge player in the industry, and you will not feel cheated after you have done all the effort to find what you're finding. Take note, the biggest part of this business is finding the commodity, but adding value to what you found is just normal. It's just normal that you go that route. If you are big enough to sell what you find, wonderful. But if you want to operate and not feel cheated, it is always good you look at mineral processing as part of your overall business plan. Companies like Ajaokuta and Delta Steel have been developed to go beyond just processing, which Nyomco was there to do. Then manufacturers out there have all these commodities to work with, but we don't just leave it at what we find ourselves. We do the mining. We should also look at mineral processing because financial value is there to be added to our projects. Let's go to the next slide. So these are the steps. Very simple steps. It's not something that I will come and educate you guys here about. So many of us know what crushing is. The same thing you use jaw crusher, the crushing and grinding stage for every ore that you want to liberate. You have to crush into small sizes because of the associated gang minerals. And what do we use for crushing? Jaw crusher, cone crusher, and we screen these items that we have crushed, this ore that we have crushed, and we go back and crush again to smaller size so that the grinding stage can accept it. Most times we do between 10 mm to 25 mm for the grinding stage, depending on what we are using. Here in this process, we make use of the ball mill. Spiral classifier is basically to classify the product of the ball mill, which actually works in a cyclic way and returns oversized back to the mill, and undersized goes to the beneficiation stage. We have beneficiation stage, which is sorting stage, use of flotation cells, mechanical agitator, and inflatable agitators are used here. Then we have the recovery stage, which we use concentrators to remove the medium or the liquid medium that we use for the flotation, dehydration, concentration, filter, and bagging. This is quite straightforward. If you go to the next slide. I hope we are all catching up. I just don't want to be too fast. But first things first, if we plan to develop our mine, and we plan to develop our processes to go into mineral processing, we must do it right. We must actually, a lot of people have started doing things, and halfway they discovered that they did not actually do the right thing from the start. We must start by going to the lab to actually carry out the following tests. If we don't do this, we will discover that at the end of our project, we realized that what the system that we have put in place might actually be the wrong system. I've worked in projects that have failed, and I know the cost of failure. It is very expensive. If you don't do the right thing, if you don't follow the right process, if you think that you are, it's just mining, is not what these guys are doing. Look at the Chinese; they just look at it and know what they are doing. A lot of Chinese have failed. A lot of Americans have failed. If you don't do the right thing, you will fail. So, the first things first, the different parameters for testing are required to develop a complete flow sheet to recover high-grade lithium product from hard rock lithium minerals. Some of these tests work that may be required include comprehensive high-definition mineralogy, extensive grindability test suite, mineral separation, gravity, heavy liquid, heavy media, and flotation tests, pyrometallurgy tests, concentrate and roasting, acid roasting, hydrometallurgy, pilot plant testing, and environmental testing. Yes, these are the standards. We might look at it as expensive, but it's the standard. So if we skip the standard, we will come back eventually to finding out that we did something wrong. So if we want to do something, you do it right. And if you cannot do it right, or if you don't have the finance to do it right, you better look for the finance before you go and waste whatever you have budgeted for your project. Can I get the next one, please? Next slide, please. So just like every business, mining is a business. The business case here is just like every business entails. A justifiable business case or a feasibility study must be established before planning to process or concentrate ore. The marginal gain due to the value addition from this process should be able to pay for the project and return good benefit to investors over a short period of time. Technical feasibility also to determine the most appropriate processing layout and equipment required for the specific ore or ores to be processed need to be done. Finally, we must understand that what the market wants. An established off-taker is always the best way to keep them away from market risk. I will give some explanation here. Processing actually takes you away from just the normal buying by off-takers to trying to do what the off-takers are doing. So most times you are not facing those off-takers who are the mineral processors. You are going to be facing the guys who are in the not the manufacturing, before the manufacturing, like the DSCs and the iron ore smelting companies and the agile cutters. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but what I'm saying is that you are going to be faced with a different market entirely, and you'll be competing with a global standard market where things are done in standard. So if you are going to process lithium, for example, you will be facing a Chinese company that wants to know whether you have done the stuff using, or your results are from global standard labs, and some of these things require that the standardization from this process requires that most of these agencies will have to see or know your process. So you are not just going to face a common market like we are facing right now. You'll be facing a more standardized market, which requires you to do things in the right way. You have your lab inspected, you have your processes inspected, and that is what I mean by understanding the market that you are going to. Next slide. So I just gave an insight. Sorry, go back to the previous. Sorry. So this is an insight to the price. I think this is January 2022. 6%. The standard for the industry to most off-takers or those who take processors is about 6% lithium oxide. This is what they are saying, that it's about $7,900 CIF China. So 6% spot price, $7,900 to $8,200 per ton. Let's go to the next slide. So generally, these are some trends that we are seeing. We have production going on in the US and globally, approximately 100,000 tons for this mineral, in response to strong demand for batteries. There are various spot price for different lithium types: lithium carbonate, lithium oxide, lithium hydroxide. They all have different prices, and these are generated or produced from different processes. I believe in the last presentation, the conversion value or the conversion chart was discussed. If you look at what we discussed about the Australian producer looking to capture more of the value chain, which is what we are trying to discuss here, they discovered that just selling crude spodumene concentrate could actually take the value from $4,000 $4,500 per ton lithium carbonate equivalent, to 17,000 lithium carbonate equivalent for lithium hydroxide. So this is, I just want you to understand that adding value to whatever you are doing gives you sometimes triple the value of what, and they didn't spend so much. I think from this write-up, they spent about $2,000 or $3,000 to take it to $17,000. So these are some of the trends to support value addition. Next slide. Next slide, please. So if you look at what I have done here, I've just given a quick financial analysis on the prices all required if we concentrate using flotation. This is what we could actually do, and how much production can give us a break even. Looking at local price of ore, lithium ore with about 2% lithium, you're looking at the price. I don't know if this is the current price, but was the price I got some time ago, 240,000 naira per ton. If you concentrate with about $300, which is what the Australians are working with, you required all to take you to 6%, will require that you spend about 850,000 naira to actually get 6%. That is the ore. Transportation, that is to Lagos, because it's the Lagos final price I got, which is about 1.75 million. The production cost comes up to 1.1 million, inclusive of the concentration cost. And your margin is about close to 600,000. The plant development, this plant development cost is for a 4 ton per hour flotation plant with all equipment. You see that you can break even after doing just little less than 20 trucks of your final product. So you can see that value addition is not so so much of a big thing if you have the finance and you have the desire to actually undertake it. Next slide. So we all know what lithium is. We all know that it's a very common, spodumene is a very common lithium bearing ore in Nigeria. It has common gang materials as quartz, mica, feldspar, and iron ore. And these are the elements that we have to take out to concentrate lithium. Next slide, please. These are some of its features. Some things you have to look at if you are doing your tests. You have to look at the hardness. You have to look at the materials, associated materials are around it. Just for this is just for your understanding. We all understand what we are discussing here. We also look at the concentration in terms of lithium percentage, looking at the hardness, also the colors and everything. This is how we use to identify lithium. Next slide. So this I got from the British Geological Association. I think I've discussed this, the convection, lithium content, lithium oxide content, lithium carbonate equivalent, the various lithium bearing ores, spodumene, lepidolites, amblygonite, and the lots. These are their lithium contents and their formulas, and how they appear and how they look, the colors, and so on. Next slide. So basically, what I'm actually discussing right now is trying to take you down to the processing itself. That's what I'm talking about, the ore. I'm trying to show you the materials that we will be dealing with or taking out, and how the concentration of this ore is of value to us. So let's go to the next one, please. All right, this is a typical flow sheet of lithium concentration. Just like I've said before, it is not so much of a I want you to take me to the next slide, then I will come back to this slide, Gideon. The one that has some pictures, please, so that I can explain this better with the pictures. No, not this, the other one. Yes, go back. Okay, let me start from with this. But I wanted the previous, so but let me start with this. This is a typical layout. You have the jaw crusher, which I don't know if we all know this, but I believe everybody here should know what a jaw crusher is. From the first stage, you crush, you go down to the cone crusher, which is the second machine you are seeing. The conveyor belt takes it, the jaw crusher takes it and takes it to the conveyor belt. Conveyor belt takes it to the cone. The cone crusher reduces it to smaller size. The purpose of us reducing to smaller size is to ease the work of the ball mill, which is the main milling machine that would at the grinding stage. The screens, which is the third machine you are seeing on the screen, screen the smaller particles, and the bigger particles go back in a cycler form to either the jaw crusher or the cone crusher, as the case may be. Then we take it to a bin where it is stored, and it is fed to the ball mill. The ball mill has a spiral classifier there. The ball mill crushes to fines, and for those particles that have not been liberated enough, it returns back to the ball mill, and it continues in that cycle until everything is turned into the required size we want. And this is now taken to with pumps and fluid to to the flotation tanks. Before you get there, there is a concentrator that actually mixes the fines and the geoliquid, which is now transported into the flotation cells. The flotation cells are cells where basically what we do with the flotation cell is particles behave differently when they are in fine powder and they are subjected to buoyancy test. Let me use an example. I don't know if you have been opportuned or you have seen this practically. If you try to create ladder from soap, you create the foam and you throw in some sand on it, you discover that some of the particles will not sink, they will float, they will be on top. So this is the principle that flotation actually uses. It uses air bubble, it uses agitation to actually make some of the particles float. And these different particles have different floatability, if I might use that word. And that is how you actually get to separate one mineral from the other. Each mineral has its own flotation floatability. And depending on what you are after, if you are after um, lithium, and depending on what you find while you are doing your test, the other minerals that are associated with it will be floated at different times. And if you intend to separate them into different constituents, that's how many cells you will now develop or add to your flotation cells. Mainly mica, quartz, iron ore in some cases, and lithium are what you find in most spodumene. Then you now take to the thickener. Thickener actually takes out the fluid and concentrates the required ore, and the required ore is taken to a dehydrator, and it's filtered, and you get your ore. This process is simple and straightforward. It is used not only for lithium, it is used for most minerals that have close density, and it gives high rate of recovery. So what you have here is what you see in the lead zinc industry, you see it in the barite industry, you see it in the lithium industry, and so many other industries. So this is one standard way of actually doing mineral separation. And I think there are some factories like this in Nigeria, but I don't know if they are Nigerian operated. So this plant you are seeing is the entire flow sheet for lithium separation. Let's go to the next, please. Let's go back. Let's go back so that I can explain those diagrams that the previous, please. So it's the same flow sheet you are seeing here. This is the same thing that I just explained. It depends on if you are using conveyor belts or you want to use, for some places here, they used elevators, bucket elevators to actually do the conveyance. But basically what you are seeing here, which is, I picked this from 911 metallurgist, it is basically the flow sheet for lithium concentration. There are different approach here. Here they used in the diagram you have on your left, used some let's see, they used, okay, because they have different constituents, they use different processes, but basically you have the same process. Here they use the dryer to actually finish the process instead of filter. So this actually is more expensive to operate because it requires heat. But those that for the one that you use the filter, you maybe use natural heat to allow for the evaporation of any any moisture or whatever content you have. So this is typically what I just explained in the other slide. So let's go to the next one, please. The portable one. No, no, not this. The one before. The one before. Yes. So what you see here, they are portable mills, portable way of, because we are looking at simpler ways of getting lithium. Here you have the ball mill, and you have shaking tables. Now, I'm showing this because some of us might want to actually look at how to develop this small type of plants. Here, if you want to develop this kind of plant, you should be ready to how do I mean concentrate, but know that your final products will still have um, some materials which actually you can actually sell, but you will be able to concentrate, and at the same time your waste will still have um, lithium. Basically, these smaller plants give you about 50% recovery. So some people, if your financial model actually supports you concentrating and selling, depending on your grade of ore, depending on your financial model, what you want to achieve, you can maybe start with small plants, grade, process, and eventually take the waste and do flotation if your bigger plant comes in. In the other model, you still have concentration, but not as much as having so many cells. So these are various methods, but if you must actually do or go into processing, you must fit whatever you are deposit. It's not the same that you, so for every mine, for every deposit, you could have the same plant, but you have to know that it must fit that plant. So it doesn't necessarily mean that plant Mr. A has just a flotation cell and a shaking table. Why am I not just doing the same thing? You might eventually end up not actually getting the result right. So basically, when you've done your test and you've done all your mineralogical tests, then you will be able to determine what type of plant you will be able you need to separate lithium. So let's go to the next cell, please. The next slide, please. So we have explained this. Raw materials are fed into the jaw crusher, conveyor belt transfers to cone crusher, and it is fed into the ball mill where you have the spiral classifiers, and you now take to the concentrators, and from the concentrators you sorry the you to the flotation cells, and from the flotation cells you take to the thickener, from the thickeners you take to the filters, and you collect um, your product, your final product. So let's go to the next, please. This is just for illustration, for those of us who might have not seen these plants, or we don't know what they are. This is the jaw crusher. We have jaw crushers here. If you have gone to a quarry, if you have not been to a quarry, these are the things we are talking about: the jaw crusher, the cone crusher, the screen, the conveyor belt, and those round tank looking plants up there. They are the ball mills. They have balls inside, that's why they're called ball mills. The balls are used for grinding, and they grind materials into fine powder, and it's easy for at the powder stage, it's easy for ores to be liberated and waste materials taken off. So let's go to the next. And this is a small jaw crusher. If we're looking at having a small plant, we a small jaw crusher can fit this. There are local companies that are doing this kind of plants. Well, when I mean local, some within the West African sub-region, we have this going on. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a big one. It can be something of this size, and it doesn't have to come far away from China. This actually, I think, it's from a fabricator down in Ghana. But these are things that can be done if they are needed. I know for a fact that Nigerian foundry actually can do some of this work, because I've been privileged to meet some of their engineers. So what we see is, if anyone who is interested in developing something like this, because we don't have an advanced industry down here in Nigeria, you won't have where you just walk into and say, "Oh, I want XYZ," and you get it. The Chinese people are already doing it. The Ghanaians are doing it. The Zimbabweans are doing it. So if the industry starts growing and you start getting local demand, then you start seeing shops doing this and displaying them. So you won't see this anywhere except maybe secondhand or so. So, but this can be done. Then we have small portable ball mills and portable ball mills. So these are portable, and they don't need to be fully automated. I'm using now small size plant, but everything has to be determined at the beginning stage. If you are going to use manual process, and you want to be getting good value for your money, and you also want to um, keep your budget low, you have a low budget, you want to do it small, you have to do all this calculation and see whether it is the best for you, or you go fully automated. It depends on how your budget is, but everything can be done. Next slide, please. This is typical flotation plant. These are the cells. This is just a unit cell. If you need to separate a lot of materials, or a lot of associated materials, you need to have a series of cells, which gives you higher rate of recovery of the actual mineral you are going for. Basically, how it works, just like I've explained, it uses air bubbles, uses agitation, and the materials that float and the materials that sink, they are two different minerals. The ones that will float might be what you are after, or the one that is in the sink might be what you are after, depending on the stage and what you are actually going for. Next slide, please. So sometimes you find that you eventually have iron ore, and it's easy to separate by using magnetic separator at maybe the final stage, when all materials would have been liberated, to finally get your lithium concentrate. Lithium concentrate of 6% is what the industry requires for further processing, further roasting, acid roasting, and to get down to um, lithium hydroxide. So the international market actually goes for lithium of 6% concentrate. And for the ones we are finding here, if we have this plant, we can concentrate it and take it from 1% to 6% for the industry for the export industry. Let me put it that way. Next slide, please. So this is just an illustration. I've been talking about flotation. There are other methods that can be used for separation. A lot of research has been going on in Canada, in China. There's the dense media separation method. some operators actually employ a dense media separation method, which basically uses a dense medium, for example, fatty acid. It's a liquid medium, or a liquid that will have very close density, like the mineral that are to be separated, but it will be in between. For example, if you are removing a material of 3.5 Sg, your media could be 3.2 or 3% 3 Sg, and the other mineral could be maybe 2.8. So this method is actually cheaper than the flotation method, but it requires that for example, in lithium, which is trying to separate spodumene, the grain size should be coarse. This you can only determine if you actually carry out your more hardness test to find out how grindable your spodumene is. If it produces a lot of dust, or produces a lot of fine at the stage of test, you might not be able to actually use the dense media because you have so much losses. So these are research that are going on that will reduce the cost of processing. There are other processes that are going on using magnetic. There's also precipitation using some elements to actually precipitate lithium, which will give you lithium phosphate or so. That will give you almost 99% purity. So these are researches that are going on, but the general method which is being used today is mainly flotation. Let's go to the next slide, please. So the challenges, the major challenge for processors will be the market. Just like I've explained before, this market that is Chinese dominated, it's mainly Chinese for Nigerian market, basically. I'm not talking about the global markets. We know very well that most of our buyers today are Chinese, and immediately you start going processing, will your Chinese off-takers be happy to take off a processed mineral that is 6%, knowing very well that maybe that is even what they are going to do with your product in their final destination. So we'll be contending with either selling locally or going to China to have a known market. So this could be a challenge if you want to go that way. So you have to do your feasibility market study very well before you think of diving into processing. Then keeping to standards, most people will want to see the seal of a standard organization, such as a reputable one, such as SGS, to certify what you have, your process and your final product. And it requires a lot of paperwork and sometimes monetary financial expenditures will go into this. So if you are going into processing, you should also look at that standard aspect of it, and you also have to have a lab or a lab that you can rely on. Where local fabrication is possible, sometimes we find it difficult to have all the parts. So you still need the fabricators. If you finally find someone who can, or an engineer or a company that can do this whole process, some of the parts still needs to be imported, and that could also cause a little bit of delay to the process. So these are some of the challenges that I have identified. Let's go to the next. So in conclusion, adding value adds margin to any operator. If you eliminate the waste, you refine your product, you eventually have more value to your product. You create more profitability for your mine. Your mine might become, if I will use the word, profitable, because you have added some extra margin because you added processing. Sometimes we think processing is just for the refiners or those other guys that are out there, but processing could actually be as cheap as one of your excavators or one of your bulldozers. So if you look deep, look at it, look for a very good engineer, a metallurgist to help you out, you might find out that you are throwing away your wealth. And take note, for those who have done lead, zinc, sometimes you find silver in your product, but you sell it as lead. So some of these things are things that processing can help you mitigate. There are other areas like creating opportunities. In the last discussion, or the last webinar I had, someone asked about the locals. Most times the locals just want to be involved in the business. If they see a plant coming and they see the factory somewhere where they can actually work, and they're part of the labor and it's continuous work, some of these challenges that we are facing in terms of community will reduce. So whether you like it or not, it has some social effect or social positive effect that it can add. Yes, processing also has its own environmental challenges. So the best process will be one that is circular, where most of the fluids that are used are recycled. So you have very little waste. Most times it should only be maybe water that you'll be having as your waste product. Other in conclusion, we should also look at financing option. I discussed this at length from the beginning. Crowdfunding. If we can work together, you don't need 50 small companies out there doing small processing. 50 investors with 50 different minds can come together and look at how to set up a plant, just like every other business. Do it like every other business. That's why you have the Corporate Affairs Commission to guide and support people who want to do things together. And there are other ways, which are advanced ways, listing of assets, especially for the guys who are doing exploration. You already know that you have XYZ in a location. You can call other investors. You can go to the exchange and get your asset listed. We know about the national instrument and the JOG standard of Australia, Canada, and Australia, respectively. These organizations or these standards came about because they wanted asset listed in their exchange in order for them to get finance. So if we have like this kind of platform, we can actually grow our industry in that regard if we want to. Just like I said initially, nobody will develop this industry but those who are interested in it, and those are the people who are gathered here today. Our financial institutions don't understand what we are doing, and it's not their fault. It's you and I that will make them understand. If they see that there's a money data place, the bankers will come. There will be no way they will come when they don't. They will sit down and know that there's money somewhere. That's why they are all financing the oil industry, begging companies in the oil industry to come and take their money so that they can make money. And mining gives or I won't say but gives a lot of money. So the banks will not shy away if we help them de-risk this industry. That is a topic for another day. So I am open to hearing from everyone. I am happy to have done this presentation, and I will be happy to answer questions that I can answer. And those that I cannot answer, a lot of our experts here will help me out. Thank you very much.
Wow. Engineer Michael Okoto, I think you've done so much very well to this evaluation. I never even expected this much. I was writing and I got full of a lot of things listed here for myself, and I don't know for others. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. And we will also not waste much time because there are a lot of things on interactive section. We are going to take just 30 minutes. This is 1:23. We will not stay here more than 30 minutes. So we'll be very quick to that. And we're going to go by people that actually raise their hands. If you want, I will take it one after the other. But first, I will do a kind of, I want it to be quick in answering them so that it will also help most of our participants so that if there's anything they want to, they might not necessarily coming to ask such questions again. I have this idea of evaluating this for we have mine for the small scale miners. So most of the time I want this to be broken down so that they don't see it as something so complex that it's not something that could be done. And there's another interesting thing you said, which we will be working later on that, because the issue we have in Nigeria is the issue of funding. It's not robust. We don't have that standardized. Most of it, even competent persons reporting in Nigeria is still being worked on. One is the first question I will just run it. So you just be fast on that, pick one. Because some people will be saying, at the end of the day, you should understand that most people here will be looking at, I have this mineral, I have that, I want to process it. Oh, the money is so huge and all that. How much is the minimum or something like that one can actually bring in and do it. Now, in this processing of it thing, there is automated, full automated, and there is something one could actually do that is not fully automated, maybe mechanical, you break down into different parts. And also, one will be looking at certain locally produced material, equipment and some imported materials. One, let me just take your numbers. 4-ton per hour plant estimated for about $400,000. One might say, okay, if 4-ton per hour plant can give $400,000, is it in the same way for one to say that 1 ton per hour can give us $100,000 can give us one? Do you understand? So
yes,
that, I wanted to look at that, okay. Say something on that. Then, if not necessarily, but let's see, because I know the higher your design, you higher the money involved. But $100,000 it's about, say now it's about 75 million naira. 75 million by 4 will give us about 400 and give or take. But one might say, I have 75 million naira. Are you saying I can do that? Can you say something on that? Can you give me one ton per hour plant?
Oh, definitely. Why you see my presentation, just like I said, is for us to have a feel of what the price might, that's what the value or the return on investment might look like. And I made mention that you could be surprised that the cost of actually getting a dozer, okay, for your site can give you a processing plant. So if you look at the small equipment that I listed there, okay, it might surprise you to know that, for example, $100,000, $100,000 can give you a 2-ton per hour plant. Okay, but you should also note that you need, that is for your processing. You should also know that you need some other finance for your mining and the rest. So because we are talking about small size equipment, small size plants. Yes, small. If you want to know how much it will cost you, for example, you do first of all your own small feasibility study, your little feasibility study, and the amount that you feel like spending will now actually determine the size or the quantity that you will be producing. Some people might say, okay, I want to be doing just 20 bags. This plant, I want it to be doing 20 bags per day. What do I do? Do I need to put all those wonderful equipments that I listed there? You can have a small ball mill. You can have a small crushing plant. You can have a cell. If you look at some of the cells that are out there, you'll be amazed that they are not so much difficult to produce. So, and you can have one guy doing wheelbarrow from one point to the other, feeding and all this stuff. So it depends on what you want, your budget, and having an engineer or a metallurgist sit with you to say, oh, guy, this is what you can get out of this place. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it is not expensive. It is not large. I only use that plant. And take note, I also warned that you are facing, if you start processing, you're going to face a market. Okay. Will you be able to sell your product when you have processed? You have to do all these studies before you go about. For example, there's this feldspar supply that I was doing from Okene, and I discovered that they were rejecting our products. Okay, so I went to the Chinese and I told them that I want to supply you pure grade, high grade feldspar, but I will process it and give it to you processed. They said no, they don't want it processed because they process it. In short, when you bring the low grade, they will take it to a sister plant and just give you your cash back, very low cash, and they process it and take it to a high grade before they supply the users. So these guys are doing what you are asking. So you are going to contend with that market. That's where I'm saying bigger plants can do bigger, give you bigger results. But if you want to go small, make sure your market is there. That's all.
Okay. Actually, I think the market being there, it's not actually much of a problem. The problem is to, if you look at the entire value chain, seeing where it is, bringing it out and all that. But I want to talk I want to just let you know something, because I've been interacting with these guys and I'm so much involved in what they do and all that. Most people will be asking you now, once you talk anything flotation, you say something that have to do with chemical, you have to, agitate some of this, and they think it's something, they don't want to go in there. If you've been around all our artisanal mining activities and all that, and let me tell you, we can't do anything if we want to actually develop in this industry. What we just need to do is to restructure the small scale miners, bring in something that they can work with, because most of the things are actually coming out. 70% are actually coming out from the shop, 80% are coming out from them. So whatever we're doing, we have to be in such a way that they could see a way of going into that. Now, let me ask you this. If you look at the whole flow sheet and all that, started from the primary crusher, going to secondary crushing, then you go into separation in terms of ball mills, it goes back again, comes to the flotation cells and all that. Then I want to know, is there a way, if we're talking about concentration, is there a way we can stop the concentration? Maybe remove the first primary crushing. Maybe they break most of these things. Most of the time they can be breaking down into what secondary crushing plants can take, not actually big jaw crusher. So the jaw crusher is out. You understand? Then come into something like a classifier or shaking table or the jiggers. I'm looking at it in such a way that there could be a kind of mechanical separation, because we know that the major gangs are the quartz, the feldspar, the silica, and all that, which is the major problem we have. In short, in most of the tests I carry out, I found out that silica is the highest. The more the silica, the lesser the value, which is the sand and all that. So I'm looking in such a way that is there a way that at least using either classifiers, the jiggers, or the shaking tables, then possibly stop somewhere at milling? Do you understand?
I will tell you.
Mechanically remove some of these things, then it could now raise up the value. Maybe it's reading 4% or 3% or 1.5%, raise it to about maybe increase to something 3% or 4%. That could go along. A lot of people might want to, see all this process and they can actually go into it. Then for some people that want full automation, like what they are saying, if I have something like 30 million, 50 million naira, I want to put in something. And let me say this so that you can take all of them at once so that I can go to the audience, because I'm seeing some hands being raised up. Now, I want to make it in such a way that if I have something, smaller amount of money, it could be enough for me to say, I could bring this to this, but I'm not going into flotation. And that must at least have raised the value, the percentage of what I'm looking at to a higher percentage, because most of the products that are between 1.5 and 2.5 are everywhere. So if I'm looking for at least, let me raise it up to 4% or even 5% by removing all these major gangs, I hope it's possible. So you can actually look at that. That is one. Then second one is now, in terms of I think you've partially said this. We want to know if we are stopping our darts, if we're not doing flotation and all that, some of this material, can we gather them locally? Can it be constructed locally? Or maybe start importing the motors? Because all these things are just mechanical production. Apart from the motors that are actually involved, can we do them locally with our local engineers? Have you got such experience in terms of fabricating some of these things? That is one. Then another one is, for the sake of the issues of energy we have, do you think this process requires so much energy if we are trying to do it mechanically, not fully automated? So do you think, what is the energy balance there? Can you talk more?
I'll start with the energy. Okay. Let me start with the energy.
Okay.
If you are using, basically what you see in most processing plants is something turning, and it's electric motor that turns it. Okay. And the bigger the load, or the bigger the machine, the bigger the motor. Okay. If you are a small plant, motors are not going to be very big, so you can actually use a generator. What takes energy in most plants is drying, heating. So if you are not heating, you are more or less doing the same thing like every other rice mill or cassava mill. Okay, so basically you can't save energy. If you're not going to save energy if you are heating, if there is anything heat in your process. Okay, but if you are going to do natural ways, like for example, you filter and you keep it in one place and you allow it dry up, okay, you have you use the sun, okay, then you're good to go. But if you want to bag immediately, you must use heating. Now there are different ways to heat though. You can use electric energy to heat. You can use coal. You can use charcoal. You can use firewood, depending on what you are after. Okay, so that side, I will say it depends on the size of your plant and what you want to achieve and how fast you want to achieve it. Okay, so that is a study that you have to put into place and study and actually find out whether you're making profit or not. But once you are heating, if you want your process to be seamless and you want it fast, you put it there, you bag it at the other end, you can't escape energy cost. Okay, I don't know if I've answered you.
Okay, okay.
Now I'll go to the fabrication. Fabrication, to be honest, if you go to the, I just like you know, I am in also the food processing industry, and I know most of the machines that are being used today, for example, rice mill, they fabricate from A to Z locally. And most of the things you see in these processing plants are not too far away from what we do in the mining processing, okay, the mineral processing. So local fabrication is 100% possible, okay? All you just need to do is show, because we haven't really come out to say we want this stuff fabricated, okay? That's why you have not seen fabricators delve fully into this industry. But if you ask me today that I should come to your site and look at a trommel, a gold washing plant, and give you one, I have the design in my head. I can go to a fabrication workshop where people are working and give them the full design and do the full fabrication. So basically, what we are saying here is when there is the demand, then and you have the requirement for that demand, then the fabricators are out there. I know, for example, here in Makodi, where I live, I have worked with a fabricator that can do so many of these fabrication. For the heavy metals, for example, like the jaw crusher and the rest, you know very well that they are big size and they have special plates in them. So you don't just use normal steel. Okay, so those are specialized materials that you need to go to places like Nigerian Foundry to get. But for other plants like the flotation cells, for things like the trommels, those are things that can easily be fabricated.
Okay.
Then we talked about
Third one.
having to stop at a stage. Okay, I mentioned it. You can actually decide to just use gravity concentration, okay, to remove one mineral. You don't need to remove all, or one waste, for example, silicon. You can decide to remove that. But take also will go with some of your core elements. Your recovery rate will not be as good as flotation. So why I said this is that your waste is still with value, okay? So you might just be concentrating and still wasting some of your value. I'm only saying that if you want to do that, it is very possible. So you maybe, and I said, I think I mentioned that if you do that, you keep your waste with the aim of maybe tomorrow setting up a flotation plant and recovering what you have in your waste dump, okay? That is still a model that you can run with. You start with just concentrating, getting some better value for yourself. And at the end of the day, you say, okay, bring up the waste. We can extract mineral from this stuff. That's a model. People run on different models to make ends meet. Okay, so I think that is using jigs, using shaking table. I think in the portable plant, I showed you that can actually be done. So you can then in areas like you asked the question that if you want to most of the artisanal miners come out with small sizes, and you can use some crushers, lab size crushers to crush to powder and do your shaking, use your shaking table, and you get results. You concentrate. These are straightforward examples.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think we're going to run because we'll have limited time. Let's go to the audience now. Seeing some hands. There are also some comments within the chat window. I will. I don't know, Patrick or Diego, are you there? Let me. Okay, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm well muted. Thank you very much, Gideon.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm doing well. You're welcome to the platform.
Thank you. And then I want to appreciate the huge excursion. You've just taken us from A to Z effortlessly. Thank you.
Thank you.
The area you touched actually most of the area, but what I really want to ask us, you made a very compelling case for value addition. Now, you equally told us that our financial institutions are not on the table. Do we continue to allow these guys not to be on the table? Or do we come up with a blueprint, a process flow that is going to force them to come to the table? Because look, we can't continue to do this. I visited a site in Southeast owned by Chinese. I saw all types of lithium scattered all over. They were using our raw material, processing it. Exactly what you are indicating. They were processing and bagging and exporting the same raw material that our banks are speaking their English or whatever language they think they are speaking. So I think it has come to a time where we are going to say enough is enough. Do we go and table this case on the development institutions, or do we drag the commercial banks to get it? Because if they do, they will no longer ask for things that are really not necessary in this our sector. Because, I mean, what I saw in practice was that sure, they were occupying expanse of lands and they were just taking the minerals. They were not having any single license. They were taking minerals from miners, and most of them mining with exploration license, which I pointed out to them that they know that it's illegal to take mineral from somebody that doesn't have mining lease, that doesn't have a small scale license. They just, wave it with a wave of hands, right? Because we appears to be a city that nobody has the key, right? So that's basically where I want you to touch on. But other things that you mentioned, adding value is a must, because if you pick up a lump of spodumene, you will see that the mineral, the lithium content is scattered. So if you don't crush it to have a representative sample, you are just wasting your time. By the time you get to where you're going, you think you have 4%. When they finish with you, you'll be heading to a village. Thank you.
Well, I am very sure that this question you've asked, I am one of the proponents of. I have discussed this, and I have told him that there is an advantage to this platform. Apart from those listening, there is also the tendency that we can. I don't like to force anybody. You know, if you are seeing good things, you will run after me. Okay, success attracts. So they are in business because they want to make money, and when they start seeing success, they will come. And I've said it from the beginning. Maybe if you pick my slides later, you discover that I've said this industry can only be developed by us. I will give an example. If we create standards today and say XYZ is in a location, and you cannot invest in my own location, and I say, okay, guys, I want 1,000 investors to come up with ₦1 million to explore, ₦1 billion. So if you ask for 1,000 people today in Nigeria in the mining industry to come up with ₦1 million, I think it's within 2 or 3 days, and you show them. You get me? You show them what they are going to benefit. I think within a month you'll be breaking in that one. Business out there, and they see that something is going on. Okay, they start seeing cash flow. They start seeing stuff. The banks will be asking for the MD of that company. Please, let us come and open your account with us now. These guys don't to know, but out is financed by itself. How? If you have X, if you know, the geologists here know what they know. They know that some geologists will come up to you and tell you that this experts in this industry, and we look at what they have done. It is easier for us to finance it than the bank. Mining. At the time the money starts coming in, even if it's in trickles, we can bring in, that is when the financial institutions come in. Take note, in places like Australia, the financial industries, they don't come in at exploration. But when the exploration has been done and there is this standard JOC report and it is listed, you see the money is coming in, because that JOC report is all immediately is showing that XYZ is there and it's cash is in there. Why can't you give them $1 billion to build a plant? Okay, so but they won't come in when you have nothing to. They are
I think it's
own is the real, but
yeah.
when you collaborate, it becomes
Network.
big.
Mike, it seems your network is becoming epileptic. I don't know. Is this from my end? But I think okay, Patrick. Patrick, can you hear? Are you seeing where it's coming from?
Yes.
You see where
Yes,
it's
I
coming
can hear
from?
you.
Now, I think what Mike is actually putting at has been an idea we've been sharing together and all that. The truth of the matter is that the success attracts a lot of people to come to what you are doing. And there is one thing we must also take away. This industry must be developed. We must do the necessary thing first before others could actually come in. And there's an idea is actually, propagating, which I think is something we are also working on. The issue of the crowdfunding, I think that's actually where it's coming from. But I saw you raise your hands. You want to say something on that?
No, I actually want to appreciate your contribution, Madam Dr. Salahu contribution, Michael contribution, because this is pivotal. We need to engage in a very proactive way to solve this issue. So, as you have said, we all need to pull together to make this thing work. Yes, Mike is correct. Commercial banks don't fund mining, but they could fund some part of mining, which we are talking about here is value addition. There is no conceivable reason why they should not fund value addition. Exploration, obviously, they won't fund. We all know that. But when it comes to value addition, we will not leave them off the table because it's important for cash flow management. So that said, we will think outside the box. We are trying to develop something through NESG on select some couple of miners to really go to work. We must drive this thing to its logical conclusion. We cannot allow leaving this money on the table and foreigners are carrying it. We have to drive this thing. So I really appreciate your effort.
Okay. Thank you. Mike, there are some comments on the chat window that I want to read out. And he said, what are the disadvantages on building a plant from the environmental aspects? He said, if you, for instance, don't choose the right place for processing pegmatite, or simply how important is the location of your plant. He's just trying to talk about the location, the essence of choosing your location for plant, which that is of immense importance when it comes to
your location is key. First of all, apart from the environmental and social effect, your business model, first of all, will depend on your location of your plant. So for example, if you are taking your materials from Lagos to Port Harcourt, or rather from, let's say, from just to Port Harcourt, and you are taking 50% of it as waste, you're already wasting 50% of your transport costs. So your location is key. Then going to the environment, if your system is not working with proper environmental impact assessment, if you are dumping your waste, most of the waste in this process actually is the waste liquid or the fluids. They are recycled because your geofluids, you have to recover them to carry out your flotation again. And if it's in gravity concentration and just use of water, then you have to have a process that you use to recover your water. If you don't do that, you pollute the environment. Obviously, your locals will complain, and when that happens, they might shut your place down. Finally, for the environment, that is the location itself. Some of these plants can be located in cities, to be honest, processing plants. But you are best keeping your plant very close to your mine, or where the ore, you find a belt of the ore. You get me? If you are planning to collect from various producers. So your location is key for your business. Your finance is also key for your environment, and that is how the environment, that's how the locals will handle it, and it's also key for managing waste. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we've done so much today. We have less than 6 minutes to go, and I will just quickly I think Andrew said something, but Andrew, you mentioned and indicated a small processing plant fabricator in Ghana. How can we get, if you can actually contact us? So if you have a further question, or you are interested in actually a detailed explanation of certain things, or you are interested in investing in plant and all that, we can actually take that off this platform and explain further on that. Also, okay, I think at this juncture, I don't know, Dr. Mrs. Salau, if she's here, she will have to give us a closing remark. And before we go do that, please, I want everyone to just put up, Mitchell, you need to take the picture of the attendance. Please, we can put on our videos, everyone, so that she can take the picture of the participants on today. If you have any other question or whatever, just please drop your email, because at the end of the day, this is going to be shared among us. Drop your email right now in the chat window so that we can pick it up later on. Just drop your email. You can also drop your contact and all that. If there's any question you want, you can also reach us from our contact, or you just drop it there. When we're going to be taking record of all the questions and all that, because this is actually recorded. We can also reach out to you, or you can also reach out to us, actually depending on what you might be wanting from us. We cannot exhaust absolutely for every question that actually involved in this. There's so much that actually involved in this. And I also want to thank every one of us for, I don't know, Mitchell, have you done that? If our pictures, all our videos are on, just 3 seconds, you can put it off. Just 3 seconds, put on your videos, then she'll take the pictures. Then we'll just close. We just have 4 minutes to go. Okay, Dr. Mrs. Salawa, it seems I'm seeing her, but she seems to be on transit. She's out of the country. Madam, I'll give you just a 30 seconds to. Okay, you can unmute yourself now. I've given you permission. Can you hear us? Yes, you are still on mute. Unmute yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
we can hear you now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody on board, and I think the process, or whatever we are done today, we are just saying that these processes of the minerals must be done by us and then be used by us if possible, because what we need is what we have. But the processing and going along the mineral value chain, nobody will do it better for you if you are not ready to do it. That is the main thing. And from there, that's where we will have so much to do in terms of job creation and work spread. Please, all we are doing on this webinar is for us to be able to get to the bottom of what we are losing in the mineral sector. To me, we will continue to do what we know how to do best. And the young one, please don't be tired of what you are doing. We are getting close to the end of the tunnel where we will all see the light and nobody will be able to put it off anymore. Thank you very much for doing what you are doing. Thank you, the presenter. Thank you, everybody on board, the professors, the doctors, the stakeholders, the students. We will make it one day. Of time. Thank you. Hello.
Okay, ma. Thank you. I think we've lost her. Thank you, Dr. Mrs. Salau, for wonderful closing remark. And I want at this juncture to thank everyone for participating. Sorry, we are out of our normal schedule because of the state of the nation. I've said earlier, that's why we have this. Usually is last Monday of every month. Last Monday of every month. Please drop your emails. You can be getting updates as we go on. And next presentation, we have so much packaged for this, because we want to see that we are not just here for frivolities and all that. We want to ensure that most people that are actually coming on this platform, most of the investors want their questions answered. They want solutions. So whatever solutions we are creating or whatever solutions we are actually getting on the field, or some of the researches that are actually doing on the field, we usually bring it on this platform. So Engineer Mike, I thank you so much. I appreciate you. I know I've been chasing you around for over 7 months now. Thank God we are here. I can see David. I don't know where he's coming from, but David has been another he's here today. Thank God he's not in the forest. Maybe the election has actually brought him back. David, I can see you. You're welcome. Thank you. Who else have I? Okay. I thank everyone. Please, thank you. Make sure you drop that email so that whatever we forget, we can actually send it across to you. We are seeing a lot of messages on but we can't read all of them out. We've tried to read some questions and your contributions. You can also individually contact us further. Thank you, and have a wonderful day ahead of you.